Steve Moore is the former Trump senior economic advisor, FreedomWorks senior economic contributor, Trumponomics author, much, much more. We've also got the Hill correspondent Alex Gangitano with us. Alex, your view on how Biden and President Biden is playing this right now, meeting with these CEOs, talking stimulus, not saying a word about what's going on the other end of Pennsylvania Avenue. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think President Biden's tactic here on meeting with these folks in the White House right now, while everything's going on in the Senate, kind of shows that what we saw Senator Schumer saying, that both can be done at the same time. He can get his stimulus plan, bring coronavirus relief aid to companies and to directly to people through checks, but then also while the Senate can work on the second impeachment trial. And so I think that his focus here on bringing these aid efforts and letting Democrats negotiate what they want in this package shows that he's really driven to directly helping the American people, and that he won't be, distracted by this impeachment trial.
Steve, I'm just wondering if Democrats might rue the day they wanted to pounce on this, whatever their rationale, because it could engender sympathy for Donald Trump and the idea that he's being piled on here the first time this is happening to a former president, and that they could actually be making him a more popular figure. They could making it more likely he would have the freedom to run for office again should he so choose. What do you think? What do you think?
Well, it could be. As your previous guest was talking about, Bill Clinton actually came out of impeachment more popular, not less popular, because it was over the top. And this is obviously, more driven by vindictiveness than even the Clinton impeachment. I'm having a deja vu right now, Neil, because it was almost exactly 4 years ago that we were in the Oval Office in the White House with the CEOs talking about tax cuts, reducing regulation, pro-American energy policy. And now here we are 4 years later with a president who's basically preaching exactly the opposite message to these CEOs. We'll see how that goes over.
I know this president doesn't talk about the markets nearly as much, Alex, but the prior occupant did. And I'm wondering, the fact that the markets keep reaching record after record, all three of them right now in record territory, maybe four if you include the Russell 2000. I don't know whether they're seeing past this impeachment storm or looking at improving earnings or just looking at improving economic numbers, that they're ignoring the theater here. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question of if it's coming down to that, the markets are not really interested in what's going on in the Senate with the impeachment trial. I mean, you're right that President Biden rarely speaks on these, on the shifts in the market, and President Trump did a lot. But I think it will also it will be a good indicator of Biden's efforts once this relief package maybe becomes law, of how the markets react to that. I mean, $1.9 trillion. And I think that Republicans have warned that this is a huge chunk of money going in, and what kind of setback that could have on the economy. And so I think that will be a strong indicator on going forward, how other Biden plans is going to affect the market that's doing well right now so far, 3 weeks into his presidency.
Steve, I'll just end with you here on this notion that, maybe the markets are sensing that it would be through in this environment, as they're bemoaning a weak economy today, notwithstanding, they merrily go record after record. What do you think is their thinking?
Well, first of all, let me say that I'm not a big fan of Joe Biden's, but I actually admire the fact that he's not talking about the markets every day. I don't think the president should do that. And then Trump did that a little too often. And one reason presidents shouldn't do that is, this more than anyone, Neil, what goes up can come down. And look, this is a pricey market right now. I think there's a kind of euphoria. Personally, I think the euphoria is much more oriented towards the vaccine and the idea that we're going to get this economy opened up, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 months, so we can get back to normal. That's much more important than passing a $1.9 trillion stimulus bill. I certainly hope that the price tag of this is shaved back very considerably. But boy, the Democrats, it just seemed like yesterday they were talking about unity. They seem really pretty determined to just steamroller over the Republicans, both on the budget and they think they can get a massive tax increase through with just 50 votes in the Senate and their slim majority in the House. And I can't imagine a single Republican voting for either of those bills right now.
Interesting. Well, they'll have their chance very soon. Guys, thank you both very, very much here.